Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to the sincere Akwath, which are the sincere sisters. And Shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathens. Now this lesson is going to be based on a fire at a Homestead Falls restaurant. And basically, this is just proof that we are in a time where all that happiness and joy and laughter that people used to experience, it's all being stripped away. You know, there's churches and homes and restaurants and different businesses that people have that the Lord is destroying with these fires. And people are just very sad and very heartbroken at these events. But the men of the Lord, starting of course with the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, have been warning people that this was going to happen. And nobody heeded those warnings. And now those people are experiencing those warnings. Now they're living it. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will you're edified. It says, very devastating. Crews respond to fire at Olmsted Falls restaurant. It says, fire crews responded to a fire that broke out at an Olmsted Falls restaurant on Friday evening. It happened at the Falls Family Restaurant in the 8000 block of Columbia Road. A jewelry store and eye doctor's office were also impacted by the fire. According to Olmsted Falls Mayor Chad Gluss, fire officials were called around 7:15 p.m. for reports of heavy black smoke coming from the building. So when our fire crews first got onto the scene, they said there was already fire coming out of the roof of the building. They did make entry. They did get into the kitchen of the restaurant. But when they started pulling some ceiling, there was heavy fire conditions above their head. So all three businesses were closed at the time and there were no reported injuries. The cause of the fire remains under investigation at this time, but Gluss said a police officer reportedly heard what sounded like a propane tank explosion. Officials said the roof of the building was severely damaged. The state fire marshal has been contacted, the mayor said. Viewer video showed flames shooting up from the building as firefighters worked to extinguish the blaze. Said the fire appeared to be mostly out when a Fox 8 crew arrived on the scene. The fire occurred as Falls Family Restaurant just celebrated 30 years in business. Said it's very devastating. I'm personal friends with all the owners. Every other Tuesday, a bunch of retired firefighters come up here and eat breakfast, Gluss said. We're going to do everything we can to help them and hopefully rebuild. Yeah, and that's what people don't understand. We're in the last days. You know, what the Lord destroys is not going to be rebuilt. And there's a lot more restaurants and different businesses that the Lord is going to destroy. Whether it's by flooding them out through these storms, burning them down with these fires, you know, depending on the area, you know, depending on the, you know, whether it's in the Midwest or in the South, the Lord could send a tornado and completely wipe it out. But a lot of people are about to lose their business. You know, a lot of people, you know, their business is going to go bankrupt. Because a lot of people are not going to be able to afford to go into these stores and buy this and that. It's going to become too expensive. So a lot of people are going to have to just shut down their business because they can't afford to keep it open. We saw that heavily during the pandemic, and a lot of people never recovered. And a lot of people who are still in business, they're barely holding on. Isaiah 48:22. There is no peace, saith the Lord Yahweh, unto the wicked. And that's right. If it ain't one thing, it's another. The hits just keep coming. And in regards to restaurants, they're suffering a lot. Especially due to this global economy crisis that's happening as a result of this U.S. Israel Iran war. Because part of what gets transported through the Strait of Hormuz that's currently still blocked off is fertilizer which goes to farmers to help with their crops so that they can deliver food. But without fertilizer, then they have to resort to other methods that may not be as good as what they originally were working with. And once again, the cost of everything is still going up. So there's going to get to a point where, honestly, for a lot of people, it's going to be too expensive to eat at these restaurants. Because these restaurant owners, they're going to have to keep upping the price. So things are going to become too expensive. People are going to stop eating out as much. And then, like I said, these owners, they're going to have to shut down their business. And there's nothing they can do to stop that. The Lord has it set in motion. All of these people who have established themselves here and have been living pretty well, all of that is about to get flushed down the toilet. The Lord is about to just strip all of that away from them. And there's a lot of people who are not prepared for that. These farmers, they're not prepared to lose all their crops and ultimately lose their farm altogether. These business owners, they're not ready to lose their business. Like the thing that you worked so hard to create and, turn into something good, and the Lord is just going to take it all away. And we're going to see a lot more people just unaliving themselves because they can't handle losing everything. Like it says in Psalm 7:11, Yahweh judgeth the righteous, and Yahweh is angry with the wicked every day. These wicked people, they have no idea that they're in the target sights of the Lord. But they're about to find out. James 4:9, be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to heaviness. And that's what people are experiencing. That's what these restaurant owners are experiencing. Because like I said, either their restaurant is getting burned down or it's getting flooded out, or they have to shut down because they just can't afford to stay open anymore. And not only are the restaurant owners and the employees mourning and weeping when that happens, but the patrons are mourning. The customers are mourning. Because that's somewhere that they used to go after work or after school. Family dinners and things like that used to be at these restaurants. And now it's not there anymore. All the laughs between the customers and the employees, all the fun moments, all the birthday parties and retirement parties that were taking place at these restaurants. All the Sunday breakfasts that used to take place at these restaurants, all of that is going away. That laughter is being turned to mourning, and that joy is being turned to heaviness. And if these wicked people would have heeded the warnings of the men of the Lord, they would know that this time was going to come, and they would have been preparing more mentally and emotionally for that. But majority of these people, they refuse to heed those warnings. They'd say that the men of the Lord were crazy, that, America was not gonna fall. Like these people, they lived in a land of delusion. They were not living in reality. The Lord did not put the spirit on these people to be able to foresee the evil, to be able to see the writing on the wall and know that all the good times, they were never going to last. It's like that old saying, no good thing lasts forever. These wicked people, they didn't see it coming. They thought all the money they were making, that it was going to last. All the laughing. They didn't know that eventually the doors were going to close on that. And now we're living in that time. And it's going to be just one after the other. One restaurant is going to shut down, then another, then another, then another. Or it's going to get burned down, or it's going to get flooded out. And there is nothing that these restaurant owners can do to stop this. Because this is the will of the Lord. The Lord is going to wipe out all of the United States of America. Nuke it right off the face of the earth. So, to be honest, them losing their business is one of the least of the things that they should be concerned about. Because there is no losing their restaurant and then, getting a flood of income and then rebuilding a restaurant and starting all over. Like, no, this is it. These are the last days. America is on its last leg. There is no bouncing back. There is no recovering. There is no rebuilding. And that's what the men of the Lord are constantly telling people. Like, it's game over for America. America has ran its course. The United States has ran its course. And the Lord is about to put the final nail in this wicked place's coffin. And all the people who love it here and, think that this is just the greatest place on earth and all of that, they're about to suffer the most as the Lord continues to just take everything away from them. But you see, those of us of the hopeful elect who have been blessed with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures through the Spirit of the Lord, we already knew that this was going to happen. So we've been detaching ourselves from this place. We're not emotionally attached to this place. So as, the restaurants that we grew up going to, or the mall that you grew up going to, or the arcade or whatever, as we see all of these places, getting destroyed or shut down or whatever, we don't feel any type of way because we know that the kingdom of heaven is coming, and that's going to be infinitely times better than whatever we had here that was seemingly good. Once we're in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to be laughing forever, and we're going to have joy forever. We're going to be happy forever. Happiness here is temporary. And depending on the person, that happiness lasts a shorter period of time than for others. And at the end of the day, majority of people in this country, they're miserable and they're sad. They could have a roof over their head and they could have a job and clothes on their back and food on their table, but they're miserable. People are not happy here. A lot of people, they want this place gone. They just don't want to say it out loud because then then they'll be called anti-American and all of that nonsense. But the Lord himself is anti-American. He's anti-America. He's anti-Edomite. So you being anti-America is actually a good thing because the Lord is going to destroy this place whether you like it or not. And see, those of us, like I said, those of us of the hopeful elect who have detached ourselves, emotionally from this place, it doesn't faze us seeing all of these places get taken down. Because we know that it was going to happen eventually anyway. And we also know what's on the other side. Eternal happiness. And everything we've ever wanted and then some in the kingdom of heaven. You see, these people, these wicked people, they're still attached to this place. So that's why it hurts them so much more to see everything falling apart. And they sit here and they say, oh, I think we can save it. We can rebuild. And it's like, no, you can't. And you won't. America was destined to fall. And that means everything within this place was destined to fall and to fail. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, the Wadi Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere Akwath, which are the sincere sisters. And shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathens. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up, and Adawan Ratazah. Till next time, shalom.